Today, I wanted to take a look at a fleet cargo van that I'm pretty excited to see, which is the GM Brightdrop EV600. We don't have all the details out for this van yet, but we're just going to make some assumptions, and I'm going to show you one of the tools we have available for doing total cost of ownership calculations. What's the vehicle we're going to compare the GM Brightdrop to? Well, why don't we just take the GMC Savannah cargo van? That seems to be a like-for-like comparison, at least as close as we're going to get. So we're just going to cover the cost tool for the Excel sheet here. So looking at our inputs, I don't want to be looking at a car, I want to be looking at a van. Instead of doing a municipal fleet again, let's have a look at perhaps a urban distribution scenario. I could definitely see, like, well, Amazon's already going with a Rivian van, but an Amazon-like company or one of their providers or a food delivery service. We see a lot of cargo vans in the fleet world. So urban distribution makes a lot of sense to go electric. You're doing a lot of stop and start. You're getting to take advantage of that regen braking, that energy generation through that. So let's see what a comparison of a internal combustion engine vehicle to a zero emission vehicle would look like for a urban distribution van. Now we have some default values that we can use, or we can type in our own information if we have that type of information available. It's assuming $4,000 annually for the maintenance on the on the internal combustion engine vehicle. $4,000 a year seems kind of high. Let's bring that down to $2,000 a year. Liters per 100 kilometers, it's saying 22. I think in the first video we already covered off that NRCan has a great resource for finding out fuel economy, at least the sticker fuel economy. Real world might be different. 22 might be a little bit more of a real world figure for city driving, so I'm going to leave that in there as is. Purchase price. I did take a look at the purchase price for a new 2021 GMC van, and it did look like it did start around that, at least the entry-level vans did start around sub 50K, so let's just leave that figure in there. And now we're going to go on to the electric vehicle costs. So what's our maintenance cost for the electric vehicle? I think $360 annually for the electric vehicle and maintenance. I just don't have the data. I don't think anyone does at this point in time. So when we don't have the data, I like to be a little bit conservative, make some assumptions. I'm going to say the maintenance costs are going to be half of what they could be for the zero emission vehicle. In terms of the efficiency, the range that I'm going to get, 71 is the assumption made here. That might be a little bit conservative, but let's leave it in there. It's not going to make a huge deal because my price of electricity at 9 cents is, it's not going to really matter how many kilowatts I'm using. That's going to be something that would really more affect your range and your technical capability versus the financial model. So the purchase price of the GM Brightdrop, well, I don't know yet. I did a Google search and I wasn't able to find any Canadian pricing for that. But if I had to throw a number at it, I would definitely assume it's going to be for equivalent vehicle more expensive than the current internal combustion engine vehicle. So let's just type in $65,000 and assume that we are going to be doing something around 30,000 kilometers annually. So scrolling down, what other features do we have here? Well, it's going to pop up a little report here looking very similar to that graphic user interface that we looked at, the online tool. But essentially, it's going to have two columns here with a subtotal. The ICE is going to cost us $17K annually versus the EV, which is going to be $10K. And based off the inputs that I put in, we're going to have a cost savings of $6,638 annually per year with the EV. So that's great news. I'm not saying my assumptions are correct. I mean, we don't have all the figures yet for the Brightdrop, but that's what we have. And we also have, very importantly, the the kilograms we're going to be saving in, or reducing in greenhouse gas emissions. So this is also measured in the CO2 equivalent. I covered that in the first video. Really good place to find out your emissions factors for these kind of calculations is the BC guidance document. There'll be a link to that in the first video.
If you want to see more of this conversation, get in touch with us at fleets@pluginbc.ca, and we will direct you to the entire video and also be happy to answer any additional questions you may have.